they're just lazy. They're eating nachos all the time and junk. And if they only switched out their diets and did a bit of cardio, they'd all be shredded just like yourself. Not true. Obesity is in fact a disease. You can debate me if you want, but it's a disease. Coach Greg, and it's not your fault. Obesity has nothing to do with your genetics. The reason you're fat is because you're lazy, because you've been told to eat the wrong things. You only think it's your genetics because your parents, well, they eat like shit and don't exercise. And so in reality, it's not your genetics after all. Or is it? Well, today's video, we're going to come to the bottom of it, and Joe Rogan, well, he's going to chime in. A doctor claimed that genetics is the #1 cause of obesity, and get this, if you were born to parents that have obesity, you have a 50 to 85% likelihood of having the disease yourself. And even with optimal diet, exercise, sleep management, and stress management. And so here's the problem with that statement. It's half true and half wrong. Yes, of course, if you have obese parents, you're far more likely to be obese. You're modeling after them, you're watching what they do, you're being fed differently, you're simply living a different lifestyle, and that is also contributing to your weight gain. But what she's saying is that regardless of what you do, you're doomed. That if you have obese parents, why even bother? Because even with the optimal diet and exercise program, doing everything right, you're still going to be obese.
Just the #1 cause of obesity is genetics. And it doesn't matter what you do, like perfect diet and exercises and sleeps right, and you're still obese. That's not what the data shows.
And so the thing is, she's saying two statements and combining them into one. And so yes, the #1 cause of obesity is in fact your genetics. People are going to debate me. No, it's not true. And I've been told, Greg, do a video on this. You got to talk about this. Show that doctor she's an idiot. But the truth is, of course it's your genetics. Just like bodybuilding, like anything. It all comes down to your genetics. If you are dealt the best hand, it's going to be far easier for you. Take Chris Bumstead, Mr. Olympia. He was given amazing genetics. Sure, he works out, diets properly, takes PDs, but even if you copied his exact program or even trained harder than him, smarter than him, took more PDs than him, does that mean you're going to look as good? Of course not. Same applies to people who are obese. They can follow the best diet, training program, do everything right, but it's just not in the cards for them to maintain a lean and shredded physique. Why? Because our bodies are pre-programmed to have a certain genetic set point that we want to live inside of. And so if you get too lean, your body starts making you feel like garbage. It makes you hungry all the time, lack of energy, low libido. And so it's not optimal for you to be shredded.
The environment that you're in, which is most certainly real. The impact of your parents, the impact of modeling. You're modeling after other people's bad decision-making.
And they're arguing, yeah, but it's not your genetics, it's your environment. Your parents are eating cake and candies, cookies, perhaps not exercising enough. And so, of course, their children are doing what their parents do, and that's leading them to being obese. That's partially true, yes. But it's also true that it is, in fact, due to your genetics. And so I'm not making this shit up. There's literally studies out there showing this to be the case. For example, my brother was involved in one multi-million-dollar study involving children. And they showed that these children who are obese, they have a genetic predisposition. They have the alleles that are causing them to want to eat more. In comparison, people who are leaner, they don't have it. Oh, they're just lazy. They're eating nachos all the time and junk. And if they only switched out their diets and did a bit of cardio, they'd all be shredded just like yourself. Not true. Obesity is in fact a disease. You can debate me if you want, but it's a disease. And so just like when people are alcoholics or perhaps have a substance abuse addiction or a sexy time addiction, it's way harder for them to avoid doing those things than it is for you. How hard is it for you to not drink alcohol every single day? Pretty easy. I have no trouble not drinking every day. For other people, every single day, that is what they want to do. It is hard. You're thinking, you're an alcoholic? Just stop drinking and you're fine, cured. It's not that simple. And so if you have the genetics to be obese, it is hard to stop eating. And I'm not saying this to say, if you're obese, don't try. Of course try. But remember my message, halfway there? Why do you think I preach halfway there? Because I know it's not realistic to tell somebody like Bradley, who's 500 pounds, to say, oh, just stop eating and do tons of cardio and get himself down to a svelte 220 pounds. Sure, it's possible that he might with David Goggins' mindset, but in that process, how would he feel? Would he have energy? Would it be worth it? And so because we have a certain genetic set point, everyone should try to be somewhere in that limit. You go too low, you feel like garbage. Go too high, also not healthy.
But to say that all obesity is just genetic is bonkers.
But you have to agree with him. To say all obesity is just genetic, it's bonkers. But they're not saying it's all genetics, it's simply the number one cause. Just like in bodybuilding, to be the champion, the number one thing you need to have, genetics. Not saying that training and diet and PD is not going to help. Of course it is. Of course it's very important. And so with obesity, it's the same thing. Genetics, number one factor. But of course, if you add in the proper diet, the training, and possibly some pharmacology, that of course can help. And if you watch the program and if you want to see the real message that was being displayed, they were trying to convince people to take Ozempic or semaglutide. That's the message. You have to watch the show and you would understand it very clear. People who took this drug on average lost 15 to 22% of their body weight. So if you're 300 pounds, it means you'd on average lose between 45 and 66 pounds. That's a lot.
And it discredits all these people that we know that were obese that without surgery lost all that weight and looked great. Like Ethan Suplee. Perfect example.
Yeah, a perfect example of why genetics is a huge component. Ethan Suplee was over 500 pounds and he lost the weight. He did it. Reminds you of David Goggins. You know how he lost that weight? He literally took up bike riding like Coach Greg and was riding 7 hours a day. 7 hours. Yeah, he lost the weight, got shredded, had a six-pack, had incredible physique. And did he keep it? Nope. And why? Because it's genetics. It was not in the cards. It was not realistic for him to maintain a friggin' six-pack. And so he put on some weight, perhaps 50 pounds. And so, in my opinion, he's doing amazing. At first, he lost too much weight. It wasn't healthy for him. Ethan Suplee should not be at single-digit body fat. Should not need to have a six-pack. It's too lean for his genetics. It's below his genetic set point. And so what happened? His body pushed back, made him more hungry. He continues to exercise. He continues to train. He has a great diet, exercise. He does everything right, yet he's still over 250 pounds. Why? Genetics. And remember, I did collaborate with Ethan Suplee. He watches my channel, and I watched him. I was on his show. He was on mine. I understand his mindset, his work ethic, and it's certainly far superior to the average person. But he was given a bad hand. You don't get to over 500 pounds by just simply eating. Most people could eat anything and everything they want all the time and never get to 500 pounds. I have tons of friends that go out to eat. Every night they're eating chips, garbage, junk food, ice cream, pizza, all the frigging time. All the time. I'm telling you, they do not give two shits about their diet. They eat what they want, when they want, and what are the results? About 30% body fat, maybe 215 pounds. Is that bad? Well, it's not great. But they're not 500. They're not on the 600-pound loser show. And why is that? Because their genetics don't allow it. Their genetics are saying, yeah, eat what you want. I'm going to let you maybe top out around 220. Other people's genetics, eat what you want. Top out around 600.
Everybody's walking a hard road is basically the philosophical thing. Just because it's easy for you to exercise doesn't mean it's easy for others to exercise.
And that's another great point that Lex brings out. It's not all the same for all of us. I do personally believe that some of the motivation that you have, the discipline, the work ethic, that it's partially genetic. Of course, as David Goggins points out, you can work on that. You can get better at it. But I do think that some people, it's just in your blood, in your genetics, to be able to push yourself harder than other people. I always felt that my genetics allowed me to train harder, to study harder, to push myself above and beyond the average or normal person. I don't think the average person can ride hours and hours on end, diet for decades, study harder than last time, try to get the best average of everything, put themselves through so much, and enjoy it. You see the difference? I can work hard and like it. I get dopamine from it. I'm motivated to do so. Other people go to the gym and work out. Why would I want to do that? I'm hungover the day after partying harder than last time, and I'm out riding a bike. Why don't you just lay down? Let's go in the hot tub. I go on a bike because I'll feel better. And so just because you can do something doesn't mean you can tell someone else to do it.
But to say that there's no way is crazy. To say there's no way is like, that's irresponsible.
And yes, Jogan, 100% right. To just say it's your obesity, and regardless if you have the perfect diet, the perfect training, too bad. Why even bother? That is going to discourage and prevent so many people from even trying. And so should this doctor not have said, yeah, it's largely genetic, but if you exercise properly and you train harder than last time, you can lose the weight. Maybe not all of it, but any weight you lose, it's going to make you healthier. And so why didn't she say that? I'll tell you why. Because they want people to be prescribed Ozempic, semaglutide. Go make some serious dollars for so many people. People want the magic pill. I take this, lose the weight, and they got it. Ozempic does in fact work. But at what cost? Well, listen to this.
Right out of the gate, they're talking about using that drug, that semaglutide stuff we've been
no.
talking about.
Is that what they're doing? So this is like an ad for semaglutide?
I'm not saying that, but that's what it seems like.
Hell yes, it was an ad for that. There's no way you could have watched that and not that, I want it too. So many people are going to see that show and think, that is the one drug that I want faster than ever. I can't lose weight. It's all the fault of my genetics. But this medication, I can't wait to get it.
I think Huberman was discussing this. He might have been discussing this with Peter Attia.
And so he's talking about Andrew Huberman talking about this before. I haven't seen that. Perhaps he has. But I've done multiple videos on this and explained it in detail. And so I highly suggest you go and watch some of them. I've given you the pros, the cons, good, bad, and the ugly. And so decide for yourself. Watch my videos, decide.
Semaglutide doesn't just make you lose fat, but also makes you lose muscle in many cases.
And so, on average, you lose 15 to 22% body weight. Well, what if I told you that half of that was going to be muscle? Worth it then? And so let's not tell the people about that. Or that it can increase cause of cancer. Or that it could make you feel sick. Or go hypoglycemic and have no energy and feel like garbage, being nauseous all the time. Does it still sound great? And then if you stop taking it, you're going to regain all the weight and then some. Does it still seem like the holy grail magic pill that you want? So once you start taking it, essentially it's like HRT. You have to take it for the rest of your life. $1,600 every 4 months. So perhaps $5,000 a year. And it makes you nauseous. You feel sick, not feel good. You're going to the gym and you don't want to train as well. And you lose a bunch of muscle. Does that seem like the drug you want? Because if it is, go for it.
Right, because what it's doing is I'm just guessing. If you're full quicker, which is the idea behind this stuff.
And so, no, it doesn't technically make you full quicker. It decreases gastric emptying. That's how fast the food goes through your body. Kind of like when you eat low-calorie dense foods, fruits and vegetables, or when you have my Seco bar that has a lot of fiber. It fills you up and stays with you longer. That way you're less hungry. Well, that's kind of what it does. And so think of your stomach as having like a mini brain, and it sends signals to your big brain in your head and says, you're not as hungry, you don't need to eat as much. And so that is how it works. But it does come with a number of side effects, and certainly if you're an athlete, it's something you definitely don't want to take. But if you're an athlete, or perhaps you're not, why not take GO2 Max? The main ingredient, NMN, was in fact discussed on the Joe Rogan podcast. It can ward off age-related illnesses, make you feel better about yourself, better mindset, and not only that, it makes you more fit. And how does it do that? It allows you to exercise faster and longer. And that ultimately causes you to be a better butter burner. And if you're burning off more calories, then it's going to allow you to be in a calorie deficit. Calories in, calories out, and hence you lose more weight. And don't just take my word for it. Human trials, double-blind, placebo-controlled, and so no, not the placebo effect. 50% improvement in walking distance scores among those taking NMN than those who didn't. 50% improvement! And they were not even instructed to go work out. Take the pills, a couple months later, they were that much faster. And so I take this every single day. This is the #1 supplement I would recommend in the world, more than creatine, more than anything else. And so if you want to try this, click the link in the description, code Greg, 10% off. And depending on how many pills a day you take, it's between 5 and 15 times cheaper than Ozempic. And no known negative side effects. Oh, and by the way, you don't have to take this for life. You stop taking it, you're not going to lose all the benefits. And so what are you waiting for? You wanted the magic pill. You thought it was Ozempic. The show tried to make it this way. Oh, obesity, it's all genetics. No matter what exercise program on, no matter how healthy you're eating, it's not going to help. Or would you rather hear the truth? Yeah, genetics, it does suck. It plays a role. Of course it does. But of course you can do something about it. It's going to be an uphill battle. It's going to be harder for you, but don't give up. Get halfway there. And you could take GO2 max, main ingredient is NMN, and it's been shown in human trials, not placebo, that it does in fact work. Make your own decision. Make up your own mind. Go study it for yourself. You don't have to believe me. I'm not going to bullshit you. But if you don't believe me, do your own research. Read the studies. Decide for yourself. Subscribe, click the bell button, comment for your algorithm, like the video if you liked it. Watch the tube loops. Follow me on Instagram, Greg Doucette, IB and of course the cookbooks, the training books, coaching plans by me and my team, my circle diet, life's work, how to lose weight, keep it off, rest of your life. And until next time, I am out.